It's been a while since we've seen anything coming out of Resident Evil as a live-action adaptation, and that's because, well, there was one for quite some time. It was a very lengthy film series with multiple sequels, and it did wrap up, at least for the most part. And one thing that I just know, generally, the general consensus from fans of the games, they all can somewhat agree that the live-action adaptations of Resident Evil have never been all that great, but that doesn't mean they're all that bad either. They're very cheesy. I think that's the best way I'd put it. It's like B horror at best. And it has that sort of charm of it's so bad, it's good, right? And I don't want to bash it too much because, I mean, these movies collectively have earned over $1.2 billion at the box office. And now there seems to be some interest in rebooting Resident Evil once again. And it has Sony now emerging victorious in the bidding war for the Resident Evil movie Reboot, securing the rights to a new adaptation of the iconic video game series. This decision follows a long history of Resident Evil movies under Sony's belt. So Sony was the one responsible for making those stinkers, and here they go once again, saying, you know what, let's give it another shot. Back in 2021, the franchise saw another reboot with Resident Evil Welcome to Raccoon City, which again received negative reviews but failed to significantly reinvigorate the series. And then there was one by Netflix. That's such an awful series. Don't watch it. And here we go once again. But this time, this reboot is slated to be directed by Zach Cregger, who gained attention back in 2022 for his horror film The Barbarian, which is honestly a really great choice for a director. I mean, that film, Barbarian, was amazing. I think it's finally, after a long time of just very generic, run-of-the-mill horror flicks, Barbarian knocked it off the park, and having someone like him means that there could be some promise to a Resident Evil live action that actually, you know, takes from the roots of the original games and the horror and the terror of those classics. So I'm really hoping. And now this movie will be produced under Sony's Columbia Pictures label, which suggests, of course, a larger budget compared to earlier Resident Evil films that were produced under Sony's Screen Gems. And Columbia Pictures is known for handling major blockbusters like the Spider-Man universe films, including Venom, Craven, and even Madam Web. Yeah. So as I'm saying these, I'm like, we have a great film director who knows how to make a horror movie, but it's being produced by Sony, which kind of, you see, this is what happens, and this is pretty common in the industry. When movies have big bloated budgets, right? Sooner or later, the studio or the production house feels more inclined to make the movie as broadly appealing and as creatively safe. And so you can't really do something like that with Resident Evil. And that's where I get kind of worried that the identity and the thing that we know about Resident Evil, what we love about it through the games, is going to be lost once again, simply because, oh, it's a popular IP and it sells it sells millions of units worldwide. It's gamers have it's a cult classic, all that stuff, and there's upcoming sequels in the gaming series. Let's make another. And so, I'm excited for Resident Evil Reboot, but I'm also wary. Great director, not the best film production house. Sony has made a lot of stinkers in the past. Their track record isn't all that great. The only one I could really praise them for is Spider-Verse. But that's like one out of 20 others that are just not all that great. But the fact is, this new film will be hitting theaters in September 18th, 2026. despite the lack of any major details. And it suggests that Sony is committed to bringing the Resident Evil franchise back to theaters, albeit with high stakes. I'm telling you, Sony, if you're gonna do this, please, execution is key. Try to adhere to what makes the Resident Evil franchise so beloved, so unique. It's fine if there's a little bit of cheesiness. It's fine if there's a little bit of that B horror, but try to at least make it a little bit more grounded, a little bit more serious, and actually scary, because that's what those games are really known for. You know, Capcom learned the hard way with its own game series rollout back when they were doing Resident Evil 5 and 6, and the whole identity of Resident Evil shifted. You know, it wasn't horror anymore. It turned into an action flick, and they realized, no, we have to go back to our roots. We have to go back to what people loved about this franchise. And I think that's the same approach that Sony should take with the Resident Evil reboot. I'm keeping my hopes up, but at the same time, I'm being very wary. You know, especially video game adaptations in Hollywood, it's a hit or a miss, and most of the time, it's a miss. Do let me know, share your thoughts and opinions. Another Resident Evil reboot, is it gonna really work out this time, or you're just not gonna bother? Let me know, share your thoughts and opinions right here on The Evening Buzz. We're gonna take a short break. We'll be right back with more news and highlights from the world of entertainment. Stay tuned.